Hello and welcome back to my channel. For today's Journal with Me session, I'm going to show you how you can ink your pages in your journal with things around the house and give your journal that vintage feeling. I really wanted to have a vintage look into my pages in my journal, and I didn't. I did it after I put the journal together. So I wanted just to have a way of inking my pages in my journal with things I already have around the house without spending any money on special inks. So I'm going to show you how I inked my pages in my journal with things I have around the house and how I gave that vintage feeling to my journal. So I have a look around in the house of things that I already have, and as an example here, you can use any ink stamps that you already have. You can use makeup that you don't need, or even shoe polish. Like here I'm showing black and brown polish that I have. These sponges are great as well. The shoe sponges are great as well. If you have makeup kind of sponge as well, you can use that. So I was just creative and I really tried this for the first time and I loved the result. It's easy to do, but bear in mind it's very messy. So you might want to protect the surface that you are using. I didn't do it on my table, and after I finished, my table was really inked. So you might have that, bear that in mind before you start. The process is really easy. So basically in here, I'm just wetting the sponge on my shoe polish, and then I go around the edges of the page just to give the pages that old vintage feeling. And I choose the brown shoe polish just because it went better with my journal and to the effect that I really wanted to give. I did try the black one in here, but maybe my shoe polish, the paint was already a bit dry and didn't work very well. So I just sticked with the brown one. And I'm just going around the pages, especially on the cringes of the pages, because it does give that old effect, like smudged effect, that I was looking for. Now I'm going to try with a sponge and apply the makeup, but this first page is actually, this Happy Rituals page is actually cut out of a magazine page, and because the page is a bit glossy, it doesn't stick so well, the paint. Even the shoe paint was not working very well, so I had to be very consistent, very insistent with that. And I will show you later in the video how I went back and I did it. I also did try with normal stamp ink, but again on the magazine's page it gets really liquid, it doesn't stick very well. It does work on normal pages, but I decided not to use the ink stamps and carry on with the shoe polish, so that the color was the same throughout the journal. To work on the makeup kind of inking, I came up with the idea of pouring the makeup that I wanted to use in a bowl, and then use PVA glue in a separate one, and use a brush to dip into the glue and then dip it into the makeup to make it stick to the paper, because the makeup is powder and it doesn't have a sticking effect. So with a slightly wetting of the brush in the PVA glue and then into the makeup, it does make it stick. It does make it give that effect, and I really love the effect it gave. Like I used it especially on the white pages that I have in my journal to give it more color, more that vintage feeling, and it did work wonders. I think it's a really good technique. If someone already does this technique, I don't know, I just came up with it in a whim, and for me it did work. Just be mindful not to dip the brush too much into the glue, and then go straight to the paper, especially if the paper is thin, because otherwise it's going to take a little bit to dry and it might stick to the other pages. So yeah, my process was just basically this. I went with a sponge into my shoe polished. I went around the edges of the pages, and then I used the other brush with glue and makeup powder to give colors in the page, especially the white ones, and was just a repeat process until the end. You don't need to be precise in this process. You know, the more imperfect it is, the more vintage and unique it will look. And I really love how it came out. I think because this journal is a junk journal and it's made out of so many different things, different kinds of paper, magazines, textures, it just blended everything together and it looks part of one whole book, and I love it. So here is a quick flip through of the journal with all the pages inked. Obviously this process it's meant for, you know, if you have a journal that you already put together and you haven't inked the pages prior, this is a good way to blending all the pages and making your journal just look part of the same thing. And I really love it, I really do, and I hope it gave you the inspiration to do the same. If you have a journal like this that you want to blend together, you can use different colors, you can of eyeshadows to make the theme of your journal. But yeah, you don't need to buy anything expensive to make it. And that is it, my junk journal with ink pages. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.